Good morning. Here we are, Friday morning, 6:60 something. Today we're doing What About This Verse? And by the way, as we get rolling here, I want to say that I am, as far as anybody who may be watching live, I didn't say hi to you when you came on the screen and you said hi to me. I had ignored you, and I'm sorry that I did that. But I don't want to see who's watching. I get distracted, and I am easily distracted. And so, with that said, I would like to go on with what I'm supposed to be doing here. Here I am at Calvary Chapel, Fort Bragg, and I've got my cup of gnarly coffee, Thanksgiving coffee, Pony Express, and I'm hoping this will help us get through this particular day. So today's verse on What About That Verse is Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. Last week we did Philippians 4, 6 and 7, and now we're just going to keep going with this because there are some things that we don't understand about this verse. And it is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You may be going through something where maybe you've trained real hard to climb Mount Everest or something like that. And so you are, you're working real hard, you're halfway up the mountain, you can't breathe, and then you begin to quote this to yourself over and over again. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do. And as you're quoting that, that might give you some kind of that might give you some encouragement, but I'm telling you that's not what is meant by this. You may have some ambition in your life, you're really going for it, and you're saying, but I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's not what it means. So with that said, the first thing to understand when we have these verses that we pull out of the Bible and that we use for our everyday life, couple things we need to understand, a few things. The Bible is not a collection of disconnected fortune cookies, and yet we use it like that sometimes. And though there are many verses that we can take and lift them up out of the Bible, hold them on their own, and they will indeed apply to the situations that are around us, or it certainly does mean what it says, regardless of what was before or after. So there are verses that we can use like that, but there are a couple of important truths that we need to understand. Number one, all promises and encouragements in the Bible are for Christians only. They are for Christians only, and we'll get to that. Also, context is everything. Certainly, you wouldn't take one sentence out of any book, any piece of literature, and call that the meaning of the entire book, or to take it and just make it mean what it says. They do this with politics all the time. They will take one sentence that somebody said and leave out the context in order to accuse or to just say, well, this is what he meant. Well, that's not what he meant. And so you have to look at context. The Bible has a context. So I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Okay, that doesn't have anything to do with our ambitions. And it also, let's just take it to its logical end. You and I can't, give birth to a crocodile. It says I can do all things. Well, no, you can't fly. There are certain things you cannot do, you will never do in this life. And so we've got to figure out what Paul was getting at. And the only way to do that is to read a couple verses before. This is great. Understand where Paul was. He was in a Roman prison, and he had written a letter to the Philippians because the Philippians had actually sent him a gift. And in the receiving of this gift, he writes them about a bunch of other things, very important things, but he mentions the gift towards the end of the letter. And it says this, after he says, thanks for the gift, then he says, not that I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. I know how to be abased. I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I have learned both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So you see the context there, and if we wanted to make more sense out of it for ourselves within the context, then what he's saying is that I can endure all things through Christ who strengthens me. Paul had lived a crazy life, especially after he got saved. And in doing this, he decided that Jesus was all there was and all there is, and he lived for Jesus Christ. And he went through great times, he went through bad times, as it says here. And you could read in 2 Corinthians chapter 11 how many rotten things had happened to him. But he would endure these things and continue to walk with Jesus. You see, when things get bad, some people decide, you know what, I don't even want to be a Christian anymore. I'm going to go try something else. I'm going to go do something else. Or when things get really good, they say, oh, I guess I don't need to depend on the Lord as much anymore. Now, Paul had one thing on his mind, and that was to be content in Jesus regardless. By the way, when things go really bad for me, that's when I'm the tightest with the Lord. That's when I am such a great relationship with him, seriously. And when things are really great, I don't know, I just kind of lose touch a little bit. And some people, when things are great, they're really great with the Lord, but when things fall apart, they're not real tight with him. But what a gift to be able to just walk with Jesus come hell or high water. That you wouldn't accuse him of hurting you when things are bad, or you wouldn't just shoo him away because things are really good, but to just always depend on him. And so Paul, when he was in a Roman prison, he wanted, I'm sure he wanted out of there, and for him to say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, he could have said, wait a minute, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I'm going to bust through these walls. And no, he just had to endure something. Like you and I, we have to endure things. And so how will we endure? Well, through Christ. He's the one who's going to give us strength to get it done. But what is this through Christ thing? How do I do that? How do I do through Christ? Well, some people say, well, just keep your eyes on the Lord. And I say that all the time. Hey, get your eyes on the Lord. But we don't know what he looked like. Sometimes we get this artist rendering in our head. It's like, okay, I'm going to keep my eyes on Jesus. I keep my eyes on Jesus. The hippie guy with the peace fingers. And it's like, okay, that's making me feel better. That's not it. Understand through Christ, meaning that consider his character. Consider how much he loves you. Consider the cross. You see, he loves you so much that he sacrificed himself. He was innocent, you're guilty. He sacrificed himself so that you and I could have life everlasting. And when we wonder if we can get through this next day and we're looking for strength, understand, talk about enduring. Jesus endured the cross for you and me. I would say go to the cross if you want to go through Christ. Go to the cross and consider, as it even says in Hebrews chapter 12, that he endured the cross for the joy that was set before him. What? He endured it because he knew what was coming after. And that joy, believe it or not, is you and me. He likes us. He loves us. And when we set our eyes on him, it doesn't matter if today is a rotten day or a great day, he will give us strength to walk with him. So today, walk with the Lord and understand that you can. And be content in the Lord. Understand that you can. And get back to me. Well, it's been great hanging with you. So God bless you real good. And see you next time, next Friday, okay?